All right, we are back for the 10 things I learned from my mastermind and 10 things I'm going to apply to my mastermind that you can join today if you're interested. It's not launching until November, so use the link below and check those out for applications. It will be closed shortly after because it is only available to 12 people. And if you tuned into the last part 1, you would know why I chose 12. But we're going to get started. We're going to start with number 6. And so I hope that you were taking notes last time and can add to your list now. If not, sure, you can go in this order. It's not in any particular order, and then go back to listen to the other one later. But we are here to talk about masterminds, and it's so critically important for you guys to recognize why, right? I think a lot of times we forget when we just hear fancy language and we just say, oh, we're going on a business retreat, or, oh, I'm joining this membership program. And you think you're adding a tool to your tool belt, but it's like adding a tool to your tool belt and then never using it. It just stays in the tool belt. So much so that it rots to the tool belt. Everyone's like, what's that? I don't really know how to use it. I don't want to host a mastermind like that. I don't want to go to a mastermind or experience like that. I don't want to be in a membership like that. I don't want to get a subscription box that I don't use. And so this is really a critical piece that I want you guys to take note of as I'm adding these tools to your tool belt. They don't have to necessarily apply to a mastermind. It could be any realm of business, but this is what we're going to incorporate into ours. And so I wanted to share these with you with intention so that you understand when you're mastermind shopping or you're experience shopping, this is what you need to be looking for. All right, number 6 is don't be afraid to offer additional insight, support, challenge, and grow. Right? So what I mean by that is oftentimes in a mastermind, there can be an expert. I'm going to have experts who have been on TEDx speakers around the globe. You know, I could edit these things, but we just don't. I think it's important to just be, right? Like, this is me on the fly. Let's go with a couple of notes, right? Just a couple of notes and then I'm good to go. But TEDx speakers from around the world who are experts in getting on TEDx stages or getting on stages, period. We're going to have social content creators that actually do this on a massive scale for people who have millions of accounts. We're going to have experts in the realm of copywriting and how they can actually change the way your community responds and activates based on words. There's going to be email marketing experts. There's going to be funnel experts. We're going to have so many different people tapped from my area of resources based on building businesses for the last decade and a half. We're going to have people from the e-commerce realm. We'll have people from the physician realm. We'll have people from the author realm. Literally the sky is the limit, okay? What I'm saying in this is not to be afraid to add your insight. Because what happens when all of these people come to mind together, it wouldn't be the mastermind if everyone didn't share. Now, sometimes when these experts come, they're literally sharing from a place of like expertise, right? And I don't say like expertise, it is expertise, but you might have a different lens. You might have a different perspective on what that looks like, and that's okay. However, if they're taking the stage and they're not curating a space for that type of environment, I would encourage you to take notes. Get in touch with that person in your mastermind. Talk with them directly at the experience. Give them the support that they need. Tell them about the experience you've had. Challenge the perspective of the person if you don't agree with it. And realize that it is an opportunity for you to grow with the attendees just as much as it is for you to grow by yourself. And so serve and learn from the presenter. All right, number 7 is reflection. So I love this activity and I would encourage you to try it. It was an opportunity that right when we got there, instead of jumping into what's ahead, what's in store for the weekend, we took time and we wrote down what we had accomplished in the last 90 days. If you are anything like me, I don't necessarily celebrate the small wins. I wish that I did more often. It's something I am working on becoming better at. I love celebrating for other people, but for myself, I'm like, it's not where I'm going. There's more to go. It's like, I don't want to celebrate the false summit. I feel like there's more, but I know that there's always just false summits until heaven. However, I still feel that way. So we took a time to reflect, and it was so critical for the entire rest of the weekend because my list was pretty long. And when I say pretty long, I'm going to show it to you actually while we're here live. It was pretty long. And it just wasn't just business. This was personal. I believe that we're all one. So when someone asks me to write a list about something, it's everything. It's what comes to mind, not eliminating or adding certain things that I think just belong because, right? So there are things like I got to walk in a New York City fashion show. There are things like I volunteered at my church's Vacation Bible School for the first time. I wrote my second book, like that's pretty rad. I had over 25 podcast recordings in the last 90 days. So some really great things. I booked 6 speaking stages for the rest of the year. Really cool. And I just became so in gratitude, so indebted just to be in that moment, just to have shown up in another city, invested in myself, taken the time that I was going to be there to really dive in, to not have meetings, to not have podcasts scheduled, to not have Clubhouse going on in the back ear, none of those things, to just be fully present. And so I just became fully present in that moment to realize what is behind me. And then it wasn't until the very cap end of the experience where we'd said, what's going to happen the next 90 days and then the next year. And we had an opportunity to share it and just celebrate a couple of the quick wins that we wanted to share and highlight. And it was just incredible. I even got some extra ideas for my own business in the final moments of the experience in the mastermind as people were sharing what they've accomplished and what they want to accomplish. I'm like, ooh, I want to add that to my list. I want to add that to my list. This is what masterminding is all about. It's a collective spirit, but it's also the reflective spirit. So I really encourage you to reflect back so you can project forward. Okay, that's number 7. Number 8 is understanding your assets. This one is really important and I think really unique because oftentimes we'll go into a room and we're there to learn or receive, but we're not really necessarily thinking about what you can do for others. And that goes back to the first episode, the part 1, where I was talking about number 2. I'll give you a hint. I was talking about servant leadership. I was talking about servant partnership. All right. And so I'm not going to go into the details. You'll have to go back and check it out, but it's understanding your assets, what you bring to the table in a mastermind. This is so important. And a lot of times people will undervalue, right? You'll get into that imposter syndrome. The very first one that I went to, I didn't think that I made the same amount of money as them. I felt like a teeny tiny fish in a really big pond. And I've since been told that that's a good thing. However, it felt like I was about to get eaten, right? And I felt like everything that I was going to add was not going to be of value or worth to the other people because they'd been there, done that. Well, I found later that that was not the case. And all of us struggle with similar things. It just might be at a different tier step, right? A different ladder rung, but we're all going to the top and we're all stepping on every single ladder. You can't skip ladder steps. So here are your asset options. What is your expert knowledge? What is your zone of genius? What relationships do you have that you can bring to the table? What time investment could you give to the team? What creative assets do you have that other people might not have? What team is backing you up that then creates further momentum into the experience? What does your audience look like? What does your creativity look like? What things can you do that they would not be able to do simply by partnering, simply by collaborating, simply by being in the mastermind? And so I really hope that that encourages you and that you realize just by taking a tick off of each of those things, how much value you're adding simply by showing up in the room. All right, number 9 is boundaries. I think this is really important, and it was actually added to the list on a live Clubhouse experience where I shared this just a few minutes ago. And it was interesting because it came about and I'm like, oh gosh, that's a really important one. Here we are talking about, I'm going to tell you another one from the first video. You guys are just looking out. You're going to get all 10 by the time I'm done. I was talking about intimacy and vulnerability as number 1. And if we talk about intimacy and vulnerability and don't talk about boundaries, we are absolutely not doing you justice. And so boundaries are so critical. So as you go to share and as you go to receive, you have to know your mission, vision, and values. You have to know what are non-negotiables for me. And in those non-negotiables, those are boundaries. So let me give you an easy example that's personal and professional. I haven't drank in a few years, and it's a personal and professional reason for that. And you're in a room with a bunch of other people who are doing a thing. Not everybody, but you feel and sense that camaraderie and you feel a little bit of FOMO, right? Maybe you don't feel this way if you're not a drinker, but I used to sell wine. So like, I love talking about wine. I used to be a bartender, so I know all the cocktails and I want to know how the beer tastes and all of those things. That has nothing to do with my not drinking, that I don't want to partake in that experience, but it is a boundary currently in my life that I choose not to. And so I have to not break that even when I want to, even though I'm in a cultural environment, an intentional environment of safety, intimacy, and vulnerability. It doesn't mean that I change who I am. That's like an easy example. Another example of boundary would be in business, right? Everyone is depositing all of the tools and tricks that they use, all of the high-level masterminding things that you're going to talk about. Not everything is for you, okay? That does not mean because that person looks like where you want to be, that is the way that you have to get there. So it's really important that you recognize what are your boundaries in your time, what are your boundaries in your beliefs, what are your boundaries in your branding methodology, all of the above. This is really, really critical for you to understand before you go into that environment. And so last but not least is the power of optimization. You are going to amplify your business and your being, both and, not either or, in these types of experiences. I've seen it happen time and time again. I've seen women on their knees weeping. I've seen women on the chairs celebrating. I have seen breakthrough in business that has catapulted careers. I have seen breakdowns of businesses that have allowed them to grow into the butterfly they were intended to be because they were willing to do the hard thing and let go. A lot happens in these spaces, and optimization is surely one of them. We are optimizing specifically in this mastermind, the one that I'm going to be curating, and even the one that I am so blessed to be a part of. We're optimizing from the inside out. And if you think that you can go into a mastermind experience and just touch power of optimization and funnels and expert strategy and email marketing and Facebook ads and YouTube ads and podcasting, I love all of those things. It's how I've gotten to where I am in my career 1000%, but that is not what matters. What matters is your why. What matters is your legacy. What matters is your identity. What matters are your values. What matters are your core belief systems. What matters is as you amplify, you optimize. So if we can optimize here, oh man, the amplification of your message, the amplification of all of the systems, the amplification of your team, everything around you heightens, and it becomes a mastermind in and of itself, and you become the mastermind expert eventually. How cool is that? This is literally my story, mind, body, soul, spirit, led by entrepreneurial experiences, capstoned and totally engulfed by the one and only who led me to this place. And I could not have been here the way that I have been here without being fully present in the experience and recognizing the power that he will bring to this mastermind experience called the Harvest Mastermind. And so if you have yet to join a mastermind and you want to get your feet wet in one, this is going to be a high level experience. It's going to be very intimate. It's going to go through all 10 of the lists. If you haven't seen the other ones, I gave 2 of them away, so you only got 3 left, but they're really, really good. If you want to cultivate your own mastermind and you need support in how to do that, how do you develop a retreat? How do you develop an in-person experience mastermind? How do you develop a mastermind on the back end? I can also coach you through that, right? And so I am excited. I'm excited to see where you're going to go with this information. And I would love for you to drop in the comments what you plan to do with this information. Which one was your favorite? 6 through 10, maybe 1 through 5, maybe all the above. I would also love if you would subscribe and ring the bell. My name is Tamra Andress. I am your purpose activating coach. My intent for the purpose activation is from that place of heart, head, home, health, and then handbag. I love all the things above, but we've got to get them in order, friends. I love you so much. I'm so grateful to you. Thanks for tuning in. Chat soon.